Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and today I think we're going to get back on with the Apricot project. As you see, I've had some 74LS14s arrive in the post. So it's thanks to one of my viewers. We've been chatting to you a little bit about it, and he was under a similar impression of me that it was that mystery IC that I was first calling the clock generator IC really is just a 7414 logic IC. What I got wrong was I put a 74HC14 in there, which is the standard 5 volt 7414 logic IC. It should have been the LS version, which can basically run down at a lower voltage. Now, like I said, I've picked some of them up. I ordered some online. They arrived actually last week. I've just been a little bit busy. So we'll go right to it now. We will... actually, what I want to do, I think I'm going to try and test the clock crystal first. We'll give the clock crystal a quick try, because I've got a little circuit which I found, which we can basically I've set up on a piece of breadboard, so I can actually make sure that the clock crystal is indeed going to work. So we'll do that, and then we will get to installing the new IC, installing a tested clock crystal onto the board, and we'll see if that's made any improvement. Because if that hasn't done it, then I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do. So let's get right to that now. Okay, first thing I want to do before we start playing about with the board again is I really want to ascertain that we've got a working crystal to actually go in this, because obviously we hope that the new ICs are going to work. But I mean, if we've got the new IC there, I've got what I hope is a working crystal here. But we weren't sure whether it was actually working on the board, so what I've done is I've knocked basically a little circuit up here. Incredibly simple. Is it a 7404 or something like that? A couple of resistors. But it's just a really simple way of driving the crystal. It's essentially what's happening on the motherboard. What I've done, I've got it hooked up to my 5 volt supply here, so I'll switch my 5 volt supply on. And if this is just a crystal I've just pulled off a scrap board. I'm not actually sure what frequency it is, but it should do to just prove that this circuit works, and then we can actually test the crystal that I want to use back on the motherboard. So we go in, can't remember where I put that's the test point, I think. Where's the test point now? What have I done with it? There, I think, there we go. So as we can see, we've actually got the crystal is oscillating there. I can prove that, but if I turn the power supply off, we saw it just die away there. I'll switch the power supply back on. There it is, and it's oscillating nicely. So what I'll do, I'll switch back off again. I'll pull that crystal out that I've just been doing to test. And I'll take the crystal that I really want to put back on the Apricot's board. We'll put that in circuit, make sure it's well in the holes, switch the 5 volt supply back on, and let's see here and see if this one is working. Let's test on here again, and no. So that crystal doesn't seem to be working. No, we don't seem to have any. Oh, hang on. It seems to come. There we go. Oh, yes, it is working. I think it's just this this breadboard's a little bit tired. Yeah, I do believe that is actually working, because we was getting a decent oscillation there. Then there we go. I think I've just got a bit of a bad connection here on the actual breadboard, because when I get it, there we go. Yep, that's oscillating nicely. So we know we've got a good crystal there. Excellent. switch that off. So we know we can put that crystal in the board. So we've got the new parts there. So I'll get this cleared away. I'll get the motherboard out, get it set up on the bench here. We can put that crystal back in, and we can try and fit one of these, and we'll see if it's made any difference. If not, I really do want to get this clock working on this motherboard. The next thing I'm thinking of doing is basically doing what I've done here, and just make a clock circuit on a little circuit board like that, and feed it the requisite voltages, and then send that out to drive the chips and tech chip on the main board. Like I said, that's if this doesn't work, I think that might be the route that I actually take with this. So I'll get set up on the main board, and we'll get straight back to it. Okay, we're back. We're all set up, and I've got my USB microscope on here. I've got it set up to a little netbook there, as you can see. In fact, I'll leave you on there for now, and we'll whip back over to the board. We'll basically swap between a view of me fiddling with the board and you seeing this on here, because you can actually see more of what's going on using the screen on the webcam. See if perhaps I can just turn that so it's a bit better for you. Yeah, because I can see relatively well there. I can see well enough anyway. First thing we need to do is take off. Well, we're not pointing at what we're pointing at now. We're pointing at that. No, we don't want to take that off. We want to take. Let me get the camera down a bit. We want to take that off, which is what we tried. It's when we tried off another board. Hopefully what we're going to fit should be the correct component. Right, let's get some heat on here. And we'll whip this off the board, and we'll have a clean up again. I'm really getting wary of working around this part of the board, to be fair, because I've worked it quite a bit. So far I haven't lifted a trace, but it's only a matter of time. There we go, that's off the board. That's come off not too bad. Left a bit of muck and what have you around there, and we'll have to sort that. Bodge wire out yet again, because that's no longer where it should be. So we'll have to fix that. In fact, let me get my little dentist probes out, so I think we'll use those. There they are. We'll need them out. We'll get that one out now, ready. And we'll have to have a little bit of a clean up with some solder braid again. Get my tin with my soldering bits and bats out. Nice solder there. My nice flux pen. And some decent solder braid. Excellent. And where are my snips? That'll do. Right, I think we've got everything we need. Put a piece of solder braid ready. Okie dokie. Let's clean up the mess, and then we can look at putting this new IC in. So we'll go in there. We need to have that adhered to the actual trace there. see if we can get this off. There we go, that's free. So we can put that back where it needs to go, which is to that trace over there. We'll pull that out of the way for now, and we'll have a jolly old clean up of that area there, because it is looking a bit of a mess now. Flux up a bit of solder braid. Let's put a little bit of fresh flux on there, but not much. Okay, let's go in there and let's have a bit of a tidy up with them pads. Those aren't bad. There we go. Well, they've come up quite nicely, really. Right, we'll go in with a cotton bud. Yeah, a couple of cotton buds out. There we go. Pull that away. And we'll get a bit of isopropyl out. I did actually find a can of proper PCB flux cleaner up in the attic when I was looking for something else the other day. And I thought, well, I must bring that down with me, and I completely forgot. So I will have to have a brave back up into the attic and see if I can find that, because it would be very handy. In fact, it'd be nice to see how much better it is than using isopropyl, which is I think what most of us use for this job. I think it's either RS or Maplin branded, and it's an old can. But it should still be okay to actually use. Right, there we go. So with no damage there at all, despite the fact we've had about three or four attempts with this IC. Still looking pretty decent, that. Okay, and I apologise if anyone gets annoyed about the fact that my chair's squeaking. All I can say is deal with it. I had a few comments actually about people complaining about my squeaky chair. If money was abundant, if money was abundant, I would change my chair, but it's not. The chair's perfectly functional. I have actually tried tightening it up, and it's just an old office chair, you know. This week, right? We've got the new ICs here, as you can see. These are, as you can see there, 74 R214s. These should work. Very gently get one out of the only problem with when they're on these tape rolls rather than chip tubes is if you tear it all off, you end up with a with that basically with all the chips everywhere. You just have to peel one back and just get one out at a time. Right, let's get this lined up. And we'll just make sure we've got that the right way around. Try to see where the actual pip on it is. It is not easy to actually make out on this one, but I believe it goes that way around like that. So we'll put him in place. Like that. fact, where's my flux pen? I should have really put a little bit of flux down first. Oh, hang on, let me get the screen back up. Well, put a little bit of flux down first, it'll just make life easier. And we'll place the chip. Get it lined up. Oops, a bit too far. That's not too bad. Okay, we'll get the iron out, clean the bit. Could really do with a slightly finer iron, but this should be okay. A tiny bit of solder on the end of the iron. We can basically hold the IC down like that, and we'll just do that leg. That's moved ever so slightly, so let me just see if I can just nudge it. Yeah. We'll try and do this leg there. Yeah, that took. Right. Now it's anchored in two places, it's a little bit easier. Just a little bit of solder. And we'll do the top leg here. Okay. A little bit more solder to my end of my iron. There we go. And I suppose what I can do now, I'll just add a little bit more flux to the IC and we'll just see if we can drag solder it. So I'll put some more flux down there, we'll put some more flux on that side there. And let's see if we can just drag solder this into place now. So we'll go down this side. And we'll just heat up as we go. There we go. Okay. I've got a little bit of a bridge there. Just add a little bit of extra flux and we should be able to get rid of that. We should be able to get rid of that bridge. Okay. Oops. Nearly. You always get one like this. Just try a little bit more. Flux is your friend when you've got a solder bridge like this. Oops. Nearly. There we go, that's gone. Yep, we're fairly happy there. Just go back through these and just make sure that they're all... Yeah, they all look fairly happy then. go back over them. There we are. Yeah, I'm reasonably happy with that. Right, we'll give that a quick bit of a clean up. We'll fix that bodge wire back on, which we've lost down there. The one that I disconnected before and needs to go back to here, back to there. We'll put that back on after. We'll have a little bit of a clean up with some isopropyl first and just make sure everything looks alright after a clean. There we go. Yeah, that's not looking too bad. Yeah, that's looking pretty good actually. I'm quite happy with that. Right, so we've got a definitely brand new IC in there. I'll give it a, just wipe some of the excess off here. Now, we've previously tested that transistor out of circuit. We know that that transistor's alright. We'll connect that bodge wire back up. We'll put that crystal that we've just tested back in. And I suppose the only thing that's left to do is to give this board a quick test. So let's do the bodge wire first, and then we can put that crystal back in. So let's get that. We'll see if we can get that to solder back down. It is a little bit tricky. Let's see if we can get the camera. There we are. Because the bodge wire wants to keep jumping up, and there's where I need it to sit down. Have we got it? It's not the nicest of. Let's see if we can drag it that way a little bit. Perhaps get a better fix on it. Holding that down there. I'll just see if we can get a. There, I think that's better. Let's give it a quick try with the. Give it a quick try with the iron, with the probe. Yeah, that feels a better join than I had before. Right, excellent. So we've got the new IC on, we've got that bodge wire back on there. I'll just zoom, in fact I'll move you over so you can actually see what I'm doing on the board, because the next thing we need to do is put that crystal back on there. So we've just tested this and this crystal is definitely oscillating. So we need to put that back on the put that back on this board. That way on, I think. Okay, I'll bend that down so it's going to sit as it should do on the board. We can solder that into position. Spin it over. Yeah, that's come through nicely, so we can easily just solder that in place. the first leg done. That's the second leg done. Okay. I can just flatten that back down there. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we're ready to test that real-time clock circuit again. If it doesn't work this time, like I said, I think my only option is going to be just to create, like you saw me do on the breadboard, that little oscillator circuit. Make a better version of that, and basically we've got space here for where the old battery used to be, to have a little circuit board standing off, perhaps with a through hole. You know, I think it was 7404 or 7407 or some. I can't quite remember off the top of my head exactly what it was that I used. But basically, there's enough room there to make a little PCB that we could fit in, and then just pick up the points that we needed on the board. If this still doesn't work, because if this still doesn't work, I'm at a loss. It could be that we've got traces inside, because this is a multi-layer board. It could simply be that we've got traces inside there that have got issues, and that's what's causing the problem, in which case me making a little circuit like that would actually fix the problem. It could be that there's a fault with the actual chips and tech chip there, which is what basically takes the clock circuit into that, and that's what actually does all the main work, from what I can gather anyway. Anyway, I will pop this board into the other room where we've got the monitor and everything set up, and we will see whether we've made any progress or not. So back in a sec. Okay folks, I just thought, just before we go and set back up in the other room and test this board, we'll just get the little pocket scope out. And I've got some batteries, in the battery holder to power up the real-time clock. So let's have a quick monitor here. So we touch onto the crystal. Can you see that there? We've actually got a signal on the crystal, but even better, that wire that we repaired, which is going to the clock input on that chips and technology chip. I think it's chips and technology anyway. If we now go on there, look at that. We've actually got a signal there now. So we will definitely now go and we'll set this board back up in the other room with the power supply and everything, and we'll see if we've got a working real-time clock. So now really, back in a sec. Okay, we're back in the office, and as you can see I've got the board all set back up. So we've got the hard drive connected, floppy drive connected, basically the basic configuration. As you can see, I've swapped over to one of them new pound monitors. Gives a slightly better picture, that's the only reason I've done that. In fact, I'll get you up a little bit so you can see the screen. There we go. And we will switch on. Okay, so far so good. And it's not actually come up with any errors so far. Now it should come up with at least some errors because we've had the batteries disconnected, so it should have lost its BIOS settings, but so far we haven't come up with a clock stopped error or anything like that, which we've had previously. Although it's usually found the hard drive by now. I wonder why it's not finding the hard drive. Seems to be hanging there. Try. Let's just try the diagnostics on the host adapter. Buffer miscompare, physical. Now we've not seen this before. So it's because the clock's running now, is it causing problems? I don't know. Is it just going to hang here again? What we've not seen is it's not come up with any BIOS errors. Like I said, I would have expected it to come up with like I said, that clock stopped error, and it's not done that. But for some reason it doesn't seem to be wanting to boot from the SCSI. Just a sec, folks. What I'll do, I'll just pause the video, I'll find the boot disk and we'll disconnect the SCSI and we'll see whether it's... Alright, it's timed out, BIOS not installed. Strike F1 key to continue. No other boot device. Right, just bear with us a sec, folks. I'll see what we can do. Okay, hopefully I fixed it. I found one of the jumpers had been pressed down on the SCSI card there, probably while I had it in its anti-static bag, so we'll switch back on again. Let's keep our fingers crossed. There we go, it's found the SCSI hard drive this time. Hopefully it's now going to boot into DOS. BIOS installed successfully. Strike F1 key. Oh, invalid system disk. No. So what is it? Right. Now I was fiddling about in the BIOS for the SCSI card, trying to get that to work, so I wonder if I'll muck something up. SCSI disk utilities. There, well, yeah, it's finding that, no problem. You know, we don't want to format it. Configure. SCSI priority checking, SCSI device configuration. Let's have a look at that. Let's enter. I think all that's okay. Right. Host adapter BIOS configuration. System boot. Controlled by host adapter BIOS. Yes, that should be right. Ah, it's a bigger hard drive than 1 gigabyte. I think that should have it. I don't need removable support for fixed disks. BIOS support for, we've only got one drive. That hopefully is it. Press escape. Yes. Exit, yes. Right, keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully it'll work this time. Let's just see. It's still saying straight. No. Just bear with us a second, folk. I'll have to see what's going on here. Okay, let's try that again. I pulled up the installation instructions for the SCSI card, and basically I had the block misconfigured. I must have, while I had it in the anti-static bag, basically something must have caught the switches. It had actually disabled the on the termination, and that's why it wasn't booting. It was recognising the disk, but it wasn't actually booting. So now I've corrected that, let's try again. So we'll switch on. I'm going to have to adjust this monitor as well, and I'm going to keep this because it does go off the side slightly, but I think I can adjust that. Right, keep your fingers crossed now. So far so good. Starting MS-DOS. Excellent. Right, let's have a look here. And let's go to BIOS. CD BIOS. Yeah, and we'll try, we'll use G setup, I think. Let's go to number 1. That's quite interesting because it seems to have everything still configured there. But look here. That clock's ticking. We've got 1:35. I mean, the time's not right, but the timer is actually ticking. The clock is actually working. The interesting thing is everything here seems to be set right. Disk A, double-sided high density, 1.4 meg. No disk B, no hard drives. The RAM's set correctly. Mask code not installed. Primary display. Everything there seems to be set right. Obviously the date's wrong there. Let's try setting the time and date. Let's do 0 for time, and it's enter system time in a 24-hour. It's 1850 now, so 1850. That's working. Let's set the date. Number 1. It's the, what is it today? It's the 6th today, isn't it? Yeah. So 06 09 20. Oh. Oh, right, okay. I think the date on this only goes up to 2020. Okay, has that crashed? I think it's crashed. Let's try a reset. We'll try AT setup, shall we? But we are not getting that clock stopped error that we was getting before. We have actually fixed the clock issue, I think. Right, let's go here. And this is AT setup. Look at the time. 18:51 and 46 seconds. We have fixed. Well, yeah, it's fixed. We've actually managed to fix the real-time clock issue. Excellent. Everything else here, it's all coming up right. It seems to have saved everything else. Let's just try that date thing once again. Let's see whether this thing will actually go up to 2021. I have a feeling that the... oh no, it does! So let's go back January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. The 6th. 2021, excellent. F10 to exit setup, escape to reboot. Let's reboot it again and we'll bring G setup back up and we'll see whether it's actually, in fact we'll shut the system down, we'll switch it off, let it all power down, we'll power it back up and we'll see if it's retained them settings. So let's escape to reboot the system. As soon as this comes back up we'll switch off. We'll let it all power down, let the hard drive spin down. There we go. Right, we'll power it back up. We'll run AT setup again, and we will see whether it's retained them settings, it's retained the date correctly, and it's still keeping the time correctly. It's booting up without any errors now. So let's go CD BIOS, and we'll go AT setup. There we go. 18:53 and 55 seconds. Monday, September 6, 2021. So we fixed it. Excellent. So the only thing now, really, let me escape out of this. What I don't think it'll have had any bearing on at all is the floppy drive. Just for fun, let's stick a disc in. Go to A. Not ready reading drive A. Let's abort that. Just in case it's a not formatted disc. It could, I mean, that disc could be formatted for a Mac. Let's go back to C. Let's try format A colon. Let's hit there. Not ready. So we've not done anything about that, unfortunately. Fixing the real time. Well, I wasn't expecting it to. Fixing the real time clock has not done anything for the disk drive issue. I'm still thinking that it could be something security related. So these did have some security features on them, which unfortunately, because there's not a huge amount of documentation I can find with these things. It's something to do with this at the front here, this little module. And I only have one in here. I don't know whether there should be two or what the bearing of that is. But I do remember, like I say, I have played with one of these back in the 90s, back when I was still at school. And I do remember there was some weird thing about some modules and some security thing, and I'm sure you couldn't boot from, you couldn't use the floppy without something. I know that Apricot was quite into doing weird and wonderful things like that. I believe the computer that came after this, the was it the QI, that had some weird thing where you had some kind of like key fob type thing to be able to get access to your computer. Like I say again, it's security features. I'm actually wondering if that's the case, whether I do a BIOS swap on this, I could perhaps get around it. I've already tried different floppy drive controllers and it makes absolutely no difference whatsoever, so I don't actually believe it's a hardware issue. I think it might be something security related which is actually preventing that, and I'm hoping by perhaps swapping out for a different BIOS I could possibly get around that. Anyway, I'm going to leave that for another day, because I've already, you know, said I'm super pleased that we've actually managed to get that real-time clock working, because I was not hopeful about that. Big shout out to one of my viewers actually that was talking about that 74, is it the LS14, and I tried to put I weren't even sure that whether it was that component, because like I said there was really strange numbering on the original part that was in there. But looking at the pads on the board, looking at the block diagram of 7414, it made sense. I just made the mistake that I fitted a part which needed 5 volts. Obviously the LS version doesn't. It'll run down to, you know, 2.5 volts, 3 volts, something like that, which is obviously what it needs for being run off the battery backup. Once I'd ordered some of them, a brand new 74 LS14, sorry, obviously you just seen me install that. The transistor I did have to replace. Now I don't know whether I killed the original transistor probe in messing about. I put exactly the same 2N quadruple 2 transistor. I found one in my stocks which was right. I put that in. I also changed the clock crystal out because I couldn't get the original to oscillate, and I don't know whether I killed that with a soldering iron or whether it was just dead anyway. The one that is in there now is just off another scrap motherboard, but it's the correct frequency. It's just a simple time clock crystal. They're all basically the same. They all work at the same frequency. Like I said, that seems to be working absolutely fine. You saw me actually test it with that little test circuit, and that was my plan B, was basically to make a clock generation circuit on a little PCB, install that on there, feed the power into it, and obviously feed that into that main chip on the board. But we have managed to fix it. We've had to put 3 bodge wires on the board to solve problems with the corrosion. I believe only one of them is actually really anything to do with the clock circuit. I think the other 2 are just tracers that we found while we was in there that we needed to repair. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there for now. I hope you enjoy this little update on the project. So thanks for watching, and goodbye.